we find ourselves more often than not caught in battles that seem inevitable. A world brimming with adversaries, each vying for control, dominance, or attention. Whether the enemy takes the form of external forces or internal struggles, the fight is always real. But what if I told you that the most profound victories are not won through battle at all? That there is a way to destroy the enemy without ever raising a sword, without ever stepping into the arena. This, my friends, is not a strategy of avoidance or surrender, but of deeper, wiser engagement. The first truth we must accept is this: the enemy, whether it's an idea, a fear, or a circumstance, draws its power from your engagement. The more you focus on it, the stronger it becomes. The more you fight, the more you give it the very energy it needs to sustain itself. Consider the idea of the enemy within. We all have doubts, insecurities, and flaws. We might try to suppress them, argue with them, or confront them head-on, but this only strengthens their hold over us. The more we struggle, the more they win. Instead, the true victory comes not in the fight, but in the refusal to give them any of our attention. The act of turning away, of redirecting our focus, is the weapon that disarms them. In the face of the world's pressures, too, we are often told that we must fight for our place, battle for our recognition, or assert our rights. Yet those who have truly found strength know that the enemy here is not the competition itself, but the fear of inadequacy. This fear is fed by comparison, by striving for what others have, or by seeking validation. When we choose to stop looking outward for approval, when we choose to ground ourselves in the quiet strength of our own purpose, the enemy's power vanishes. But perhaps the most profound way to destroy the enemy is through love. Love is not the passive acceptance of wrong, nor is it the denial of challenge. It is the recognition that no enemy, no matter how fierce, can truly prevail when confronted with understanding, compassion, and empathy. The greatest foes we face, whether in ourselves or in others, are never as monstrous as they appear when viewed through the lens of love. In the light of love, they lose their sharpness, their allure, their very reason for existence. So, how do we destroy the enemy without fighting? We do so by refusing to engage in the battle that they have chosen. We do so by turning our attention inward, fortifying our own hearts with strength and peace. We do so by embracing the power of love, not as a weapon against others, but as a shield for our own well-being. And most of all, we do so by recognizing that the true victory is not in defeating others, but in defeating the need for battle itself. True strength is not shown by how many battles you fight or win. Often, the greatest victory comes from choosing not to engage with situations that drain your energy or lead nowhere. By refusing to participate in unnecessary struggles, you preserve your energy and focus on what truly matters, achieving peace and success without a fight. Whatever we focus on grows in strength. The more attention we give to something, whether it's a fear, a doubt, or an external obstacle, the stronger it becomes in our lives. By taking our focus away from the enemy and redirecting it toward growth and purpose, we reduce its power over us. Engaging in conflict, whether mental or physical, often feeds the very thing we're trying to overcome. When we fight against something, we give it power and significance. The energy we invest in fighting only sustains and strengthens the enemy. Instead, choosing not to fight weakens its hold on us. Fear of failure holds us back more than any actual external challenge. It causes hesitation, self-doubt, and procrastination. This internal enemy paralyzes us from taking action, and the more we fear it, the more it controls us. Overcoming this fear and stepping forward despite uncertainty destroys its grip on us. External victories are fleeting, but when we achieve inner peace, we become invincible. Inner peace allows us to rise above challenges without being overwhelmed by them. It's the foundation for real success because it grants clarity, resilience, and the ability to act with purpose rather than reacting out of fear or anger. When we resist or fight against something, we give it our energy. Struggling only fuels the problem, making it bigger and more daunting. If we choose to accept situations as they are, or let go of the need to fight, we take away the fuel that keeps the enemy alive. Acceptance doesn't mean defeat, it's a strategic decision to conserve energy for what truly matters. Sometimes, walking away from a conflict is the most empowering choice. It requires more strength to disengage than to participate in a pointless struggle. By turning away from conflict, you preserve your energy, maintain your peace, and send a clear message that the issue isn't worth your time or emotional investment. Holding on to the need to always fight or prove something gives the enemy unnecessary importance. When we let go of this attachment, the enemy loses its power. Not every problem requires a confrontation. Sometimes stepping back and releasing the need to win allows us to neutralize the threat altogether. When we shift our focus from the obstacles in front of us to the larger purpose that drives us, the challenges seem smaller and more manageable. Problems naturally arise in life, but our energy is better spent on pursuing meaningful goals rather than getting bogged down by every setback. By focusing on purpose, we avoid being consumed by problems. Fear only becomes overwhelming when we give it more attention than it deserves. The more we focus on our fears, the more they take control of our actions. Defeating fear comes not by fighting it directly, but by choosing not to give it power over our thoughts and actions. When we stop responding to fear, it loses its grip on us. Fear of failure is often the most paralyzing force in our lives. It stops us from taking risks, trying new things, and reaching for our goals. This fear creates a mental barrier, making us believe that failure is worse than not trying at all. However, failure is not an enemy, it's a lesson. Once we let go of the fear of failure, we open ourselves up to growth, learning, and true success. The energy of love and compassion is transformative. When faced with opposition, responding with empathy and kindness neutralizes hostility. Love disarms because it transcends the need to fight and connects us on a human level. In conflict, showing compassion reduces the enemy's power and invites understanding, ultimately turning adversaries into allies. The more we acknowledge the power of an enemy, the stronger it becomes. By constantly fearing or focusing on its strength, we give it more control over our lives. If we stop acknowledging it, stop feeding it with our attention and energy, the enemy becomes less formidable and eventually fades into the background. What we resist persists, but what we ignore loses its power. Comparing ourselves to others often leads to feelings of inadequacy or envy. These emotions feed the competitive spirit, creating internal enemies that undermine our self-worth. The moment we stop comparing ourselves to others and focus on our own journey, we free ourselves from unnecessary competition and the anxiety that comes with it. There is no true enemy when we embrace our unique path. Our external challenges are often reflections of internal struggles. The fear, doubt, and negative beliefs we hold inside manifest in our outer world. The real battle is not against external circumstances, but against our own limiting thoughts and fears. By overcoming these internal battles, we gain the strength and clarity to face the world with confidence and resilience. Fear feeds on our attention and focus. The more we dwell on what could go wrong, the more powerful our fear becomes. To defeat fear, we must stop engaging with it mentally and emotionally. By choosing to focus on the present moment, solutions, and positive outcomes, we starve fear and watch it wither away. Often, the enemies we perceive in the world around us are merely reflections of our inner conflicts. Self-reflection allows us to look inward and understand why we react the way we do. Once we recognize that our external struggles are often projections of our internal struggles, we gain clarity on how to resolve them. Understanding ourselves diminishes the power of our perceived enemies. Not every challenge requires your involvement. Many conflicts are distractions that pull us away from our goals and peace of mind. By learning to discern which struggles are worth your energy and which are not, you protect your mental and emotional peace. Avoiding unnecessary struggles helps you stay focused, grounded, and clear-headed. In conflict, the desire to win often clouds our ability to truly understand others. Instead of aiming to be right or come out victorious, we should focus on understanding the other person's perspective. This approach fosters empathy, reduces hostility, and opens the door to peaceful resolution. By choosing understanding over winning, we disarm the enemy of pride and ego. True strength is found in maintaining composure under pressure. It's not about how fiercely we fight or argue, but how calmly we respond to adversity. Composure gives us the ability to think clearly, act wisely, and remain unaffected by the chaos around us. In the face of conflict, calmness is a more powerful weapon than force, because it allows us to stay in control of ourselves and the situation. The power of an enemy is often not in its actual strength, but in how we perceive it. When we fear something, we give it more power than it deserves. Once we challenge our perceptions and see obstacles as manageable rather than insurmountable, the enemy loses its influence. What we believe shapes what we experience, and often the enemy is weaker than we think. Conflict and struggle often come with a cost, whether it's time, energy, or emotional toll. The more we engage in battles, the more we risk losing. By stepping back, choosing peace, and avoiding unnecessary fights, we preserve our resources and energy for what truly matters. By not fighting, we actually gain more in the long run. Success in the external world starts with inner peace. When we are at peace with ourselves, we approach challenges with clarity and confidence. Inner peace allows us to make thoughtful decisions, act from a place of strength, and handle external pressure with grace. Without inner peace, no amount of external success will bring fulfillment. Focusing on the enemy or what's wrong in life only drains your energy. Instead, by focusing on your strengths, talents, and abilities, you empower yourself. Shifting your attention to what you can control and what you excel at not only builds confidence but also diminishes the power of the enemy. Your strengths become your greatest ally. Not every fight is your responsibility. Often we get pulled into conflicts that don't directly concern us, whether it's family disputes, workplace drama, or social pressures. By choosing not to engage in these battles, we preserve our peace and avoid unnecessary emotional strain. Know which battles are worth your energy and which are distractions. Distractions can easily lead us down paths of conflict. Whether it's negative thoughts, drama in relationships, or irrelevant issues, distractions pull us away from our goals. Staying focused on what truly matters allows us to avoid unnecessary struggles. Recognizing and eliminating distractions keeps us on track and ensures we are not sidetracked by petty conflicts. Love is a powerful force that transcends the need for conflict. When we approach situations with love, whether it's compassion, understanding, or care, we no longer see others as enemies. Love allows us to rise above the need to win and instead focus on connection and understanding. It softens resistance and creates opportunities for peaceful solutions. Many of the enemies we face are not real but are created by our minds. Our fears, insecurities, and imagined threats give rise to perceived enemies. These enemies can take the form of situations that seem insurmountable or people who seem threatening. However, Once we recognize that these enemies are mental constructs, we can diffuse their power and move forward with greater clarity. Fear often manifests as a surface-level emotion, but to truly conquer it, we must understand its root causes. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of the unknown, diving deeper into the source of our fear reveals that it often stems from irrational beliefs or past experiences. Once we address the root, the fear loses its power, and we can move forward with confidence. The need to constantly fight, whether against others, circumstances, or even ourselves, enslaves us. True freedom comes when we release the need to prove ourselves or defend against perceived enemies. When we stop fighting and simply allow life to unfold, we find peace and liberation. Freedom arises from non-resistance, where we flow with life rather than struggle against it. Strength is not measured by how aggressively we fight, but by how gracefully we handle challenges. When we face adversity with grace, we disarm the enemy without needing to use force. Grace involves patience, poise, and calmness, which create a stronger and more effective response to difficulties than aggression ever could. It's the art of remaining composed and dignified, even when faced with opposition. Constantly fighting external challenges drains energy that could be better spent on personal growth. Rather than engaging in unnecessary conflicts, focus your energy on improving yourself, learning, growing, and developing your skills. This not only helps you become stronger and more resilient, but also makes you less susceptible to external struggles. When you grow, the enemy becomes irrelevant. Fear is like a seed, it only grows when you nurture it with your thoughts. When you let fear take control of your mind, it becomes overwhelming. The more you feed into it, the stronger it becomes. To defeat fear, you must stop allowing it to dominate your thoughts. By focusing on rational thinking and positive outcomes, you prevent fear from expanding and losing its power. Often the enemies we face are reflections of our own inner turmoil. When we take time to reflect on our thoughts and behaviors, we can see that many of our external struggles stem from unresolved issues within. Self-reflection allows us to understand the deeper causes of our fears and conflicts, enabling us to address the true enemy, our own limiting beliefs, fears, and insecurities. Constant conflict and struggles disrupt your inner peace. Not every battle is worth engaging in, and often the best way to protect your mental and emotional well-being is by stepping away from unnecessary struggles. When we choose peace over conflict, we create a space for clarity, growth, and joy, and we avoid being drained by situations that have little to do with our goals or well-being. The desire to win often clouds our judgment and prevents us from truly understanding the other side of an issue. Seeking understanding, whether in disagreements or conflicts, leads to more productive conversations and stronger relationships. When we focus on understanding others instead of trying to prove ourselves right, we create an environment where cooperation, not confrontation, is the goal. True strength is demonstrated through our ability to remain composed in the face of adversity. Composure allows us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, which is often the source of conflict. It's the ability to stay calm, even when things around us are chaotic, that shows true power. By maintaining composure, we navigate through difficulties with clarity and control without needing to engage in destructive battles. Our perception shapes our reality. When we change the way we think, shifting from a mindset of fear or resistance to one of acceptance and growth, the world around us transforms. Challenges become opportunities, adversities become lessons, and enemies become stepping stones. A shift in mindset is the first step toward changing how we experience and react to the world. Engaging in conflict often prolongs the struggle. The more we fight, the more we keep the battle alive. By choosing to disengage, ignore, or walk away from the fight, we bring it to an end. Conflict feeds off of resistance, and the more we resist, the more it lingers. Sometimes, letting go is the quickest way to resolution, as it stops the cycle of fighting and allows the situation to settle. Distractions pull us away from our goals and purpose, leading us into unnecessary struggles. By choosing to focus on what truly matters, our vision, values, and personal growth, we reduce the power that distractions and obstacles have over us. When we stay committed to our path, we are less likely to be sidetracked by external conflicts, and the things that once seemed like enemies lose their influence. Often, we view those who oppose us as enemies. However, if we change our perspective and see them as teachers, we begin to view conflict as an opportunity for growth. Every challenging interaction has the potential to teach us something valuable about ourselves, others, or life in general. By embracing this mindset, we transform adversaries into catalysts for personal development and enlightenment. Not every situation requires your engagement. Sometimes the best decision is to walk away from conflict or relationships that drain you, offer no growth, or simply don't align with your values. Walking away is not a sign of weakness, but an act of self-respect. By letting go of unproductive situations, you create space for more positive, meaningful experiences in your life. The need for external validation often leads us into unnecessary struggles. We fight to prove ourselves to others, seeking approval and recognition. True peace, however, comes from self-acceptance. When we stop looking for validation from others and begin to accept ourselves as we are, we free ourselves from the constant battle of trying to meet other people's expectations. This internal peace allows us to act confidently without needing to prove anything. Our minds can create powerful enemies from our fears, doubts, and anxieties. These mental constructs can become more formidable than any actual challenge. The key to overcoming these enemies is to recognize that they are often based on false assumptions or exaggerated fears. By confronting these internal enemies head-on and replacing them with rational, positive thinking, we weaken their hold on us. The need to control everything around us can be a major source of stress and conflict. True power comes from releasing the need for control and accepting that we cannot dictate every outcome. By letting go of control, we find greater freedom and peace. We gain the power to adapt, trust in the process, and navigate challenges with grace, knowing that not everything is within our control, and that's okay. Many people mistakenly equate love with vulnerability or weakness. In reality, love is a source of immense strength. When we respond to conflict or adversity with love, whether it's compassion, forgiveness, or kindness, we disarm hostility and create opportunities for healing. Love is the ultimate strength because it transcends ego, pride, and the need for domination, allowing us to approach even the fiercest challenges with calm and empathy. The enemy often has power over us only when we allow it to dominate our thoughts. When we constantly dwell on the perceived threat, we give it control over our emotions, decisions, and actions. To overcome an enemy, we must regain control of our thoughts, focusing on what we can influence and letting go of the fear or negativity that empowers the enemy. Our internal state, our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions shapes how we experience and interact with the external world. When we cultivate a peaceful, positive mindset, we attract more of the same in our external circumstances. Conversely, if we are constantly in turmoil internally, we often perceive the world as hostile or adversarial. By mastering our internal world, we can transform how we engage with and respond to the world around us. True victory begins within. Before we can conquer external challenges, we must first conquer ourselves. This means overcoming our fears, doubts, insecurities, and limiting beliefs. Once we achieve victory over our internal struggles, external success follows naturally. The power to overcome any challenge is rooted in our mindset and emotional state. When we are at peace within, the external battles become easier to navigate. The more we focus on an enemy, whether it's a fear, obstacle, or person, the stronger it becomes. But when we refuse to acknowledge its power or significance, it loses its influence over us. By choosing to focus on what's important to us and ignoring distractions or perceived enemies, we take away the energy and attention that fuels them. The enemy has no power when we simply choose not to engage with it. In the face of conflict or adversity, the true test of strength is not how loudly we fight or how aggressively we defend ourselves, but how calmly we respond. Remaining calm in chaos allows us to think clearly, make better decisions, and avoid being swept away by emotions. This composed strength keeps us grounded, no matter how intense the situation. In many situations, silence can be more powerful than trying to argue or fight. By choosing not to engage in a verbal battle, we demonstrate control, wisdom, and restraint. Silence allows us to avoid escalating the conflict and gives space for reflection. Sometimes, saying nothing is the most impactful response. Peace does not come from external circumstances, but from within. We have the power to create our own peace by choosing how we respond to life's challenges. By practicing mindfulness, letting go of stress, and cultivating positive thoughts, we become the architects of our own inner calm, regardless of external chaos. Often the battles we face are internal. Our fears, doubts, and insecurities create enemies in our minds, making obstacles seem larger and more insurmountable than they really are. By controlling our thoughts and choosing not to dwell on negativity or fear, we can eliminate these internal enemies and approach life with confidence and clarity. Success doesn't come from fighting against everything in your path, but from staying focused on your purpose. When we direct our energy towards our goals, the distractions and obstacles lose their power over us. We don't need to engage in every conflict or prove ourselves in every situation. We only need to keep our eyes on the bigger picture. Peace is not about avoiding conflict, but about handling it with grace and composure. It's the ability to remain steady, focused, and balanced even when chaos surrounds us. True peace comes from within, and it allows us to navigate through life's challenges without losing our sense of calm. We often try to control the outcomes of situations or the actions of others, but this need for control only creates stress and frustration. Letting go of control allows us to release the pressure and embrace the natural flow of life. In doing so, we experience freedom, the freedom to trust, adapt, and accept whatever comes our way. The greatest victory is not in beating others or external challenges, but in conquering our own limitations. The internal battles we fight overcoming self-doubt, fear, or insecurity are the ones that shape our true strength. Once we overcome these inner struggles, we become unstoppable, and external challenges lose their power over us. Often our biggest struggle is not with others, but with ourselves. Self-doubt, guilt, and conflicting desires cloud our judgment and make it hard to move forward. When we stop fighting with our inner thoughts and embrace self-acceptance, clarity emerges. With a clear mind, we can make better decisions and approach challenges with confidence. Not every battle is worth fighting, especially if it steals your inner peace. Whether it's drama, unnecessary conflict, or people who drain your energy, the best choice is to disengage. By refusing to participate in these battles, we protect our peace and redirect our energy to what truly matters: our well-being, growth, and purpose. The most dangerous belief we can hold is that we are powerless in the face of challenges. When we believe we are helpless, we surrender to fear, doubt, and inaction. However, the truth is that we have the power to change our circumstances through our thoughts, actions, and mindset. The moment we realize our inner strength, the external enemy loses its grip. Conflict is often seen as something to be avoided or fought against, but it can be an incredible opportunity for growth. Each challenge or disagreement offers valuable lessons about ourselves, others, and the world. By approaching conflict with an open mind, we can learn to become more resilient, compassionate, and self-aware. Our obsession with outcomes often leads to unnecessary stress and frustration. Instead of focusing solely on the end result, we should embrace the journey. By focusing on the process, the growth, and the lessons learned along the way, we can find peace, regardless of the outcome. When we detach from the outcome, we free ourselves from the fear of failure. An enemy, whether external or internal, can only defeat you if you allow it to. When we give power to our fears, insecurities, or external opposition, we hand them control over our lives. By refusing to give our enemies permission to affect us, we reclaim our power and take control of our destiny. No enemy has real power unless we choose to empower it. Struggles and challenges are a part of life, but they do not define us. What defines us is how we respond to these challenges. Do we give up or rise above? Do we succumb to fear or embrace courage? Our response to adversity shapes our character, and it's in these moments of struggle that we reveal who we truly are. When we are clear about our values and stay aligned with them, external challenges lose their power over us. Our values act as a strong foundation, keeping us grounded in the face of opposition. When we stay true to what matters most to us, we become less vulnerable to distractions and external pressures. Often, we exhaust ourselves fighting battles we can't win, whether it's changing other people's behavior or controlling situations beyond our reach. Instead of focusing on things we cannot change, we should direct our energy toward what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. By conserving our energy, we stay empowered and focused on what truly matters. Holding on to resentment or anger only gives the enemy power over us. Forgiveness is not about excusing the wrongs done to us, but about freeing ourselves from the emotional grip of the past. When we forgive, we release the hold that the enemy has over our hearts, and we reclaim our peace and emotional freedom. Life is full of ups and downs, and resisting it only leads to frustration and struggle. True freedom comes when we stop fighting against life's flow and instead learn to adapt, accept, and flow with it. By embracing life as it comes and adjusting our mindset, we move through challenges with greater ease and less resistance. Personal growth reduces the need for conflict. As we grow mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, we develop a deeper sense of peace and self-assurance. This growth allows us to handle challenges with wisdom and grace, reducing the need to engage in battles. The stronger and more centered we become, the less we feel the need to prove ourselves or fight against external forces.